guys, my name is Nicole Birch, and this is The Funny Thing Is podcast, where every week I bring you a guest who shares something traumatic that happened in their lives, the medicine they took to get better, and the funniest lesson they learned. Today is no exception. Today we have an amazing guest. She is a hilarious comedian that hails from my hometown of Kansas City and an adult film actress. Welcome, Silvia Saige.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I wanted to say how I actually came to know about you was actually listening to the Johnny Dare show in Kansas City.
Absolutely. They've been so great to me every time I've come out there.
He's like, for the people that he's like the Howard Stern of the Midwest, right?
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
Yeah. He's been on forever. I mean, since I was a little kid, I've been listening to him. So.
He does a show that, because my mom, when we lived on the East Coast, we would listen to Howard Stern all the time. So when we moved back to Kansas City, she was like, oh, I found Johnny Dare's my guy. He has a vibrator competition. Like, can you guess the vibrator? How much is it? Or what does it sound like? And I was like, this is my mom's jam. And
I love that that's your mom's jam.
Oh, it's her favorite game. It's like Wheel of Fortune, but it's like Wheel of Vibrate. I'm not really sure what it is. But you were so good on it. And I was like, she's so funny. And then they were like, oh, she's an adult film actor. I was like, and then you said you did stand-up. So I'm curious how long have you been doing adult film?
9 years.
And then how long have you been doing stand-up?
11.
You've been doing stand-up longer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone always thinks it's the opposite, but I always tell people, like, I moved to LA with the pure intent of doing comedy, and I'd been doing comedy in Kansas City, like nothing open mics. I mean, you know what comedy scene looks like in Kansas City.
It's non-existent.
It's pathetic.
Right.
Yeah. So I would just bounce around to those little clubs, and I was like, I really enjoy this. And I was like, I'm just going to make the move. I'm going to do it. You know, and I found my life in Kansas City was not working out for me. And that's a story I will get into with you today. But I moved out to LA to pursue comedy, and I found myself very broke very quickly because I had gotten a DUI in Kansas City the week I moved.
Oh my gosh.
Same, like 2 days before I moved. So I moved to LA with like no job because I was like, I'll just figure it out. I had enough money for my lease. Well, not after the DUI, I didn't. So I had no money. I had this 6-month lease and I had to figure it out. And so I got like a job, bartending at night, and I was working for a construction company during the day doing their books. And then a friend of mine called up and she was like, hey, can I come stay with you? I'm going to do porn. And I was like, okay.
From Kansas City?
Yeah. I was like, no judgment. Come on out. Like, I need help paying my bills. Like, I can't do anything. I wasn't doing any comedy because I was just like working 2 jobs.
That's
trying
how
to,
it is
like,
when you
pay
first
the bills.
move out here. It's literally, you're just trying to survive.
Overwhelming.
Right.
You know, Kansas City, like, I never had to pay for parking or like random shit. I was like, oh my God, everything adds up so quickly. Like, my car was getting towed all the time. Like, I was getting parking tickets because I didn't know how to read the street signs.
I always say my boyfriend just moved here, and I go, your first month, you'll probably get 3 parking tickets. Just know it's happening.
You will.
And only because I tell him not to park, so that's the only thing that saved him. Yeah. But it's like just the cost for moving here.
Go move your car. Yeah, you're not safe there. Go move it. But yeah, and so she came out, she did porn. I saw how much money she made, and I was like, if I could just make, first I was like, if I'll make 4 movies a month, then I can like support myself and like fully commit to comedy. Right. And that's how it started. And then before I knew it, I was making like 20 movies a month. But I was doing stand-up. It was like my way to do stand-up, and I was going from set to stage all the time.
So I actually also know you because when I'd already like reached out to you, I think. And then my cousin Kenzie knew you from working at Twin Peaks, which is kind of like a Hooters, right?
Yes, yeah.
In Kansas City. And she was like, oh, she was the coolest bartender and she's so gorgeous. And one night we all like went out and she was like, do you want to come with us? And she was like, oh my God, I would love to. So she randomly, as I'm booking you for this, she was like, you have to get Silvia Saige. And I was like, girl, it is happening. So she's like, so shout out to Kenzie.
Yes. Hi, Kenzie. That is so sweet. I loved working at that place. That place was how I got to move. That was how I saved up all the money I saved, was bartending there.
And my thing with that was she was saying she remembered you and another girlfriend or another waitress or something were moving out together.
Well, she moved out shortly after I did, but yeah, that was the best friend. Yeah.
Oh, that is. Okay. So my question is, how fast did it take your new roommate to start making money? Like, how is it easy?
It's instant.
It's easy. Not that it's easy because you have to have a look and gift.
It's easy.
Oh, okay. It's easy. Okay.
I'm not selling it for like, we're not winning any Oscars. Like, it's easy. You just show up, you know, and take your clothes off and put some body parts in your mouth.
Great.
It's pretty simple. It's pretty self-explanatory, but no, she she came out with a plan. She kind of did her research. Like she knew what agencies she wanted to be with. Like she knew what she was doing when she came in. So she just like got down to it. She made like 10 grand in her first week. And that's when I was like,
oh, that's the kind of money I was going to ask you.
Yeah,
what kind of money are you talking?
I'm so poor. And I was like, I just want a little bit of that. I just want to be able to survive. That was really it for me.
10,000, how many scenes or movies or?
It really just depends. So the starting rate is, or was, I don't know what it is today, but it was like $1,000 per scene.
Okay.
But it also goes up depending on what you're doing.
Right.
So like if there's other people involved or if it's anal or like whatever you're tacking on to it, it's kind of like a menu.
Right. Yeah.
And everything gets added on like a, surplus charge basically.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
But I mean, you were making, several $1,000s a day and 10 grand in a week, regardless, it's still pretty.
Oh yeah.
It's usually like, I would say 10 grand would be like 6 or 7 scenes.
Okay. So how long after she moved in and started making money did you start?
Instantly. Her first week, after her first week, and I saw like she's coming home literally just like laying down piles of cash, and I'm like, I have pennies in my bank account, So I was like, all right, I can do this. I was 30 also.
Yeah.
So I was 30 years old. I have a college degree. I worked in my field of study. I worked in medicine. I worked in hospitals.
Right.
4 years in cardiology, 4 years in chiropractic. I did real life and I knew it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And so like to step into this, I was like, is it really that big of a deal? It's not like I'm not fucking, it's not like calling my parents, they're going to be so devastated. Like I worked at fucking Hooters when I was 18. I worked at Twin Peaks before I moved out to Los Angeles. I've been doing lingerie modeling and implied nude modeling. Like this wasn't a far jump.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody who's known me went, wow, I would never think she'd get into porn. People would go, hey, I can see the incline,
the segue.
How we got there.
Yeah. I also think the thing that's fascinating about you on Instagram, you're so like your energy's so bubbly. Thanks. You seem so like relatable, like that you can be, you're the like person you want to have a beer with. Do you know what I mean?
Thank you.
And when people ask you questions about the porn industry, you're so candid about it. The good, the bad. Like just now, you're like, it's easy. I'm not going to sit here and trigger. Like we're not doing acrobats. It's not like it's, like, but I think that it kind of makes it more mainstream. It doesn't feel like such stigma behind it. And I feel like since you've already had that history of learning what the real world was like with the cardiology and all that stuff, now that you're on the other side of it, you're like, look, I tried it and it doesn't work for me.
Yeah. I really appreciate that you say that because that is what I strive to do is kind of make sexuality a more open topic, something that's not so highly judged and that we, we're all sexual creatures. We are all only here because of sex. Mm-hmm. If it weren't for sex, our world wouldn't exist. So
correct.
I hate that it's so taboo and so shamed. And where we grew up in a very kind of like
conservative.
Yes, conservative area. And I grew up with those conservative beliefs. I grew up in the church. I did not even touch myself until I was 19 years old because I was afraid Jesus was watching.
Wow.
I was sold into all of it. And I had, biased against all sorts of different people for different reasons. I thought very negatively of the adult industry. I thought the same thing a lot of people think of. They're trash. They're all involved in drugs. And it's just like this negative space to be in. But getting into it and realizing what it is and kind of dropping my biases. I kind of lost my biases through like my 20s and like traveling and just getting out of Kansas City in general, and just meeting people and realizing that all of the bullshit I'd kind of been fed was exactly that, just kind of bullshit.
Yeah. I took a trip to Thailand. One of my best friends from college lives out there now. He's like an international lawyer and he's married to a Thai general's daughter. He's doing great for himself. And when I went to visit, he's like, so we got to go to the sex district. And I was like, absolutely. I want to see what it is.
Yes.
And he'd lived there for so long that he was able to tell me what was what. And like, this is the lady boys one. He goes, I'll take you to one where everybody's actually female. And I was like, yeah, I just want to absorb everything. I want to see everything. And what was fascinating to me is I had that preconditioned notion that these women were being pimped out.
Yeah.
They're probably being given drugs. Because that's what you think of when you think of it in like New York City or something. It's trafficking. And I remember all the girls lined up and there was this really unattractive, heavyset, poor hygiene guy, clearly from Omaha, some IT guy that saved up all his money to go there. He looked like he hadn't showered in weeks. Okay.
Probably hadn't.
He probably hadn't.
Yeah.
And he was there and he points to the girl he wants. And he was like, you know, telling the woman that's running it, because you have to pay $20 to get them out and then you negotiate from there. And I learned all this through my friend Ben. Hi, Ben. So he points up to the girl that he wants and she looks down and she goes, no. And he goes, oh, no, I'm sorry. Let me be clear. And he pulls out $500 and he goes, I have cash. And she goes, I don't care.
Right.
And I was like, what is happening? And he goes, oh, honey, the women run this country.
Yeah.
They run everything. He goes, I'm an international lawyer. The 3 women that work in my office run everything.
Yeah. Good.
And so it was like they have this, not one of them were being, I mean, I'm sure it exists in pockets, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, this opened my eyes to realizing
They have the control.
They have the control.
Yes.
And that changed my mind on a lot of sex industry work instantly.
It's nice that people are finally starting to see that. But even with, like, take OnlyFans, for example. You know, I saw a post the other day that someone had said, like, oh, imagine these poor kids growing up with all their moms doing OnlyFans. And I was like, why does that even matter? Like, you people are so upset that you can't control women in this space. And I made that comment, and then all of, you know, the keyboard warriors came in and they were like, well, a man owns the site and you're just being pimped out. And I was like, first off, I don't care who owns the site. I have no problem giving my 20% to own your or to be on your platform. That's just business.
Right.
Secondly, I control what happens on my page. It's not like you type in like, do a song and dance and I'm over here, you know, like banging on drums with a fucking tutu, you know, like that's not what's happening. Like, I give you a menu of the things that I offer and then you can choose from there.
Love it.
And if you would like to make a fantasy, you can write out your fantasy and I can decide if I would like to fulfill that or not. But again, I say no to shit all the time.
Right.
But I can, because it's allowed me to make such an income that I don't need the minor stuff.
OnlyFans changed the game, especially during the pandemic. And I will say this, I am a single mom. I went from 6 figures to food stamps by having that child. And I love her and we're doing much better now. But when you get to that and that thing where they're like these poor kids growing up and I'm like, you have to pay the bills, dude.
Yeah.
Do not come at me with that shit. I make no judgment on any woman doing that stuff because I know how hard and how dark it gets. Yeah. And it's like, sometimes you just need to make money.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, and we still kind of put it in that thing of like, oh, you have to make money. It shouldn't be a shameful position for women to be in.
Correct.
In general.
Yeah.
The fact that women aren't allowed to be sexual is mind blowing.
Right.
The fact that these men are like, want you to be, you know, some virginal creature. That is, for one, it's a perverse image of women that you don't want us to have any experience, because that's what sex is. Sex is a sexual experience. So why would you not want me to experience life? That's because what you have to offer is so subpar.
Right.
That would be the only reason you don't want me to have sexual experiences as a woman. Yeah. You know, and it's crazy because I feel like men give women their sexuality. They label us as sexy or not sexy, regardless of what age, you know, it might be. You know, I was molested as a child. And so around 11 years old is when I was deemed by my molester to be sexual.
Sexy.
Right?
Right.
I wasn't ready for that. Now I'm almost 40 years old and I want to be sexualized. And men are like, no, now that's disgusting. And I'm like, oh, but you wanted me when I was pure and innocent with no consent, no, you know, body autonomy.
Yeah.
You know,
the dichotomy of that is irritating.
Now I'm in control and now I'm disgusting.
Right.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And it's all shit we just have to unlearn.
Right.
And a lot of it has to do with religion.
That's actually, you actually just educated me, because I was thinking, oh, if you need coming from a single mom perspective, like if you need the money, do whatever you have to do. But you're like, yeah, but it shouldn't still have shame behind it anyway.
Right.
That's interesting. Okay.
It's not like, Travis Kelce is a perfect example, or Gabe Kepler, the San Fran's coach. Yeah. Do you think that those men have any problem with the fact that every woman in the world wants to fuck them? Absolutely not. And is anybody judging those men for like taking on the sexual desires of every woman in America? No. Absolutely not. They're not shaming them for that.
Right.
And Gabe Kepler and Travis Kelce can go and fuck any person that they want. And you know what every bro will say?
High five.
Boy, look at him go. What a playboy.
Yeah.
But if a woman does the exact same thing, she is worthless. She has no value. Good luck ever finding a husband.
Yeah.
Like, what? Meanwhile, Travis Kelce is the prize of everyone.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's interesting doing this. The idea of this podcast is that you can go through something terrible or a life-changing event, and that you can work your way through it and find the funny on the other side, right?
Yeah.
And so my intention of sharing Jen Sturger, who's a friend of ours, sharing her story was, hey, just so you know, that whole dick pic scandal where Brett Favre sent her a dick pic and all these messages, they never even met. She never gave him her phone number, all of this stuff. And I thought, oh, they had an affair.
Right.
Because that's how the media spun it.
Of course.
So I came out with this whole thing, and then the comments online,
oh, no.
even though we got all the truth out and we got all of that stuff out, there's still mostly men going, she's looking for her 15 minutes of fame. And I go, on a new podcast, what are you talking about? Or slut, or home wrecker. And they're still calling her the same names they did back then when she never even met the guy. And it drives me insane. And like, you know, the good people in my life, my boyfriend and stuff, that look at that and they're like, you can't listen to that stuff. Yeah. That's somebody in their mom's basement who's not happy. That's just, you know, got their fat thumbs and tweeting whatever they want to tweet. Yeah. How do you deal with like the negative comments? Because I try to say it doesn't bother me. And I really have to get to the point where somebody else looks at them. Cause and not me. You can say what you want about me. You don't think I'm funny or whatever you want. But when they say it about a guest, I get so angry. Yeah. Because it's the opposite of what this is for. Yeah, I deal with them differently on different days. I always say, if I'm bleeding, I will interact with them, because for whatever reason, when I'm menstruating and I see a negative comment, I'm like, oh yeah, motherfucker. And I'm just like, want to go back to war with them. And I'll war for a little bit. And then thank God I have marijuana. And then I'll smoke some weed and I'm like, why am I fucking interacting with you? Because I do the same thing. I'm like, this guy is 600 pounds. He hasn't moved off of his couch in the past week, and he's just angry that I exist in the world, and he has all the time in the world to sit here and battle with me. I got to quit wasting my time. Right. But for the most part, when I'm not on my period and not incredibly irritable, I don't even fuck with them. I don't engage at all. Or I'll say something to them of like, oh, you're so sweet. Yeah. You know, like, thanks for watching. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching anyway. Clicks. Yeah. I said this on a podcast I did last week where I'm a firm believer in this. If someone is happy and successful, you can be successful and be unhappy. So that's different. Yeah. But if you're happy and successful, in no way, shape, or form would you get online and write a negative comment about a movie, about anything. Right. You wouldn't do it, because if you're happy and successful and you're enjoying your high vibration life, it's always people who are below negative that feel it. And I can say that for me. The only time I ever want to be kind of bitchy is if I'm in a bad mood and I'm not. So I understand where it's coming from. Yeah. I also just don't think I've ever been online and written vitriol. I say the same thing. Like, if I see something online I don't like, I will just scroll past it. Or if I happen to have liked it because I liked something in the beginning and then I hear the rest of it and I'm like, I don't like that anymore. I'm like, but then scroll past. It's not like I'm going to be like, I liked the first part of this video and then the second, you know? Yeah. No, and they just hear it. And unless it's something like pedophiles. I'm like, okay, we can all agree, right? That's something. But anything other than that, that's subjective. Yeah. I don't have the bandwidth to even comment. I don't even do Yelp reviews, dude, unless they're good. Yeah. Like, it's weird. It's so weird. Okay. Let's get to some questions. Okay. So what's your favorite barbecue spot in Kansas City? Joe's. Yeah. Oklahoma Joe's now. Joe's KC. I bought the original gas station. Yes. I know now that they've expanded and they have other stuff, but I want the gas station. I literally just went to the gas station 2 weeks ago. I love it. I was like, I love it so much. Best burn ends ever. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I used to do this. So you're a comedian and a porn star. And I used to have this thing where I was like, oh, I want to do both at the same time. I want to be a comedian. I want to be a porn star who's doing comedy, reverse cowgirl. And you're like a Baptist and a Catholic walk into a bar. And then I was like, oh, I don't have balance and I'm a very lazy lover. So I just knew I couldn't do it. Do you know what I mean? But how do you juggle doing both? Oh, yeah. It's been so fun. But honestly, throughout the years, I have legitimately gone from movie set to comedy stage,
back to back. I mean, many of times I have come in my hair and I've just wrapped it up in a bun and I just move on with the night, you know? So, but it was, I mean, it's always been such like a hustle, you know?
Yeah.
But it's nice now because of OnlyFans. I rarely ever shoot for another company. I work for myself and myself only. So now it's really opened up stand up to me. And now I can start like traveling and doing more stuff with it.
That's fantastic. Okay. So this is the other question. Which one? And some of these are going to be rapid fire because I know you've answered these on a million times on other platforms. So let me see here. Okay. We got how long you've been doing, but that still fascinates me that you were doing comedy first. I love it. Which takes more time, including prep time? Because obviously to do porn, you're in really good shape, so you have to work out, any beauty treatments. But then stand up is writing and memorizing.
Yes.
So like it's so much.
It's the daunting part.
And you're
of
headlining
stand-up.
now, so you're doing like you can do 45-minute like crazy.
Yeah. So I love fitness. So I never feel like the working out part. I never feel like that's a job. But I will tell you, like, because this weekend I am recording my hour. And so I have just been every day in my apartment walking back and forth, just doing my bit. And it's like just getting the mental bandwidth to go, all right, you're going to run your whole set. You're going to run your whole set. You ready? You know, like, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
So to me, it's the mental game of like writing and tweaking and then, you know, performing and then watching it back and going, oh, that was awful. Like when I am in porn, it's like you shoot the one movie, I never even watch it again, you know, it's like done. I don't have to critique anything. I don't have to change anything.
There's not a lot of dialogue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Can I ask where you're performing it? Where you're taping it?
San Diego. Well, I'm not. So this is like my pre-taping.
Got it. This is like your dress rehearsal.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're just doing it, but my film crew will be there. So we're gonna like get it all like kind of see what we're gonna do.
Are you so pumped?
So pumped. I've headlined for a while, so I've done 45 minutes, but I've never done a full hour.
Right.
So this will be my.
I haven't found a lot of your stand up.
I don't have it online.
I was gonna say but
I've been
I
kind of waiting to put out a special, and then I just want to put that out and just release it, and then obviously trash the material and move on.
Right.
You know,
and so my other question was, oh my gosh, with the stand-up, and I only know this from watching the other podcasts, most of your material has to do with the industry?
It has to do with my life in general. So my life pre-industry, in the industry, and kind of like what I've taken away from being in the industry.
Oh, great. Well, that's pretty much what we're talking about today. So that's good. Yeah. So I'm going to do a few rapid fire only because, again, you've probably answered these a million times. Let's see. Which do you like more, stand-up or adult film?
Stand-up, 110.
Got it.
Yeah.
What is your 5-year career plan? Where would you like to be in 5 years?
I have so much, but I feel like you're not supposed to tell anybody in Hollywood or it won't come true.
Oh, okay. We don't have to. We don't have to. Do you have a plan to quit adult film since you like comedy more?
Yeah.
Yes.
I honestly, right now is like, I feel like I'm rolling into 10 years. And if I can just say I did a decade of porn, I'm like
done
and work for myself.
Right.
But yeah, working for companies, I'm pretty much
got it.
Out.
I mean, OnlyFans changes the whole thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. So as far as dating in this environment, what's your longest relationship? Oh no. Okay. Let's get to it.
Dating is so hard.
Yeah.
I would technically say that I dated somebody for like 2 years, but he lived in Canada and I lived in California.
That's how you make it work.
And a big part of that was during COVID. So
I gotcha.
So, but it's almost impossible. Even when somebody thinks they can handle it, they really can't, which I understand.
Right.
I don't think I could be in their shoes and date me.
Right. Could you be in a monogamous relation? Would it be considered monogamous? Yeah. Right. If with another porn star.
I mean, I've thought about it and I've tried, but it's really hard, especially if you're both working, because you have to worry about like everyone's testing and make sure that like no one's test overlap and like you can't possibly like give something to each other.
Right.
I mean, we stay very clean, but that's just it. It's like we stay really clean because of the rigid testing.
Right.
So
I also found this interesting only because like I said, one of my really good friends is in a long-term relationship with a porn star.
Yeah.
And they would have to, they like to be a little rougher together, but they have to schedule it because I guess you guys have to take full videos of your whole body before you go on set. So there can't be any bites or bruises. I was fascinated by that.
Yeah. Yeah. They will send you home if you show up with a big bruise because they're like, you can't shoot that. It looks awful. So they'll send you home with it.
That is so crazy. That's fat.
And they'll charge you.
And they'll charge you?
Because if you showed up to set and they have to send you home, they'll charge you a kill fee because all of these people showed up to set thinking they were going to make a movie. And now because of you, we can't shoot a movie.
How much is a fee? Do you know?
Usually like a couple $100.
Okay. But still, oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. How do you decipher between a guy who wants to date you versus a guy who's like a fanboy? Can you decide? I mean,
I cannot decipher. That's a horrible trait for me because normally I think I'm like, oh, they do want to, like, they're into me.
Right.
And then I'm like, they're not into me at all. It was just like a little mark on there. Yeah. Like, it's like with Silvia Saige. I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm not nearly as fun in bed as you think I'm going to be. Earlier when you were like talking shit on your sexual,
I'm real lazy.
I just think that I like do like untimely squats on like guy sticks. Like I just have no rhythm. Like I don't even know how I'm popular. I think it's just because I've stuck around.
Untimely squats is, by the way, going to be the name of this episode. Yeah. Untimely squats. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. So your real name's not Silvia Saige.
No.
But I do know a lot of porn stars, that's their stage name, but not there. But you keep Silvia.
I go by Silvia for everything. A big thing that happened in my life was at 24 years old, I successfully killed myself and was like revived, brought back to life. The cops had to like break down my door and take me by ambulance and like pump my stomach.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I woke up in a straitjacket in a padded room because it's illegal to kill yourself in the state of Missouri.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was in custody of the state after that.
Holy cow. Are you serious?
Yeah. I don't know why I was telling you that story. I don't remember the base question of how we got there, but that's...
the why you keep Silvia instead of...
okay. That's yes.
Right.
Because I feel like at that point in my life, like I knew something had to really give, something had to change. I was so unhappy. And so I thought Silvia wasn't born right then because I was 24, but Silvia was born at 30. And when I got into porn, became Silvia, I gained such like an awareness of myself and kind of like a confidence in myself that I never really had as Kristen.
Right.
And so I thought, I'm just going to go by Silvia for everything. It gives me power. It makes me feel like a strong woman, an independent woman who can like do things on her own. And I always felt that Kristen was just a very sad version of me who kind of made excuses for her life and like why things were that way. And, you know, I was addicted to drugs, hardcore drugs. You know, I was doing meth is very prevalent in Kansas City. And
Independence. That was like the capital,
there.
Right? Right.
So I had like a dependency on a lot of things. And I made a lot of excuses for why I was a shitty person and why I did shitty things. And getting like away from all that and like becoming this person who, when you say, you're like, oh, you always seem so happy-go-lucky.
Your vibe online, I'm not kidding you. I was like, even, and I don't want to give away your email address because it feels weird, but even your email address is like business savvy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like confident, business savvy, knows what you're doing.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much of a running an empire energy.
Yeah.
Behind that I was like, oh, she knows, you know, your brand,
yeah.
you know, your marketing, you know exactly what you're doing. And that's the thing that I think draws people to you.
Thank you.
And so, keep Silvia because Silvia's killing it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Kristen is gone for me.
Right.
And I've even talked to my parents.
I was going to say, do your parents call you that?
My dad respects it, calls me Silvia. So does my dad's wife. Most people are very respectful. My mother is really religious now with her new husband. Was not when I was growing up. But,
that's always fun. I like late religion. I
love it. Yeah. So she does not, and that's fine. But I try and tell people, especially when I go home and people are like, what do I call you? I'm like, Silvia, please. I just prefer it. You know? So everyone's pretty good about it.
Yeah. Okay. This is when I ask all the comics. Okay. Yeah. Do you think that you need to have trauma in order to be funny?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Tell us why. Tell us why.
Because I think you had to have experienced some things in life. Nobody wants to hear somebody get up on stage and be like, well, my parents paid all my bills and I got a Mercedes and I turned 18 and then I went to school and I bought my house, and no one wants to hear that.
Do you think you need to be actively going through trauma?
No.
I
think you could have healed from your trauma.
Same.
Yeah, because I don't think I'm still actively going through
it doesn't
trauma.
feel like that. Yeah.
I feel like that person I've like acknowledged, and that's what we were talking before the show, like being slightly afraid of ayahuasca. I'm like, I've acknowledged that person, but I've also like said she's dead and like shut her away in a closet. So ayahuasca's a little scary in it.
Because she might just come right back up. Like the girl from The Ring. And you're like, oh no. I think it's interesting because every comedian so far has said the same thing, where it's, you needed a little bit of trauma in the past. And now you actually, Chris Porter says, he goes, trauma doesn't actually drive my comedy. It's frustration.
Yeah.
And
like
Jen said something similar, not frustration. And then mine was, I do storytelling. So like me talking about how I got pregnant from a one night stand with a friend, which is insane.
Awesome, by the way.
Yeah, which is great. But it's also like, that was kind of traumatic, but it also, you have to heal it. And now that's what we make it. Tragedy plus time is comedy. So that's
exactly.
Last question. I love this. What is your love language? Do you know what they are?
I do know what they are.
I knew you would. I knew it.
I would say my love language is touch and time spent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing I'm deep diving in now, because as I was writing this question, it hit me. Mine used to be physical touch and quality time. And then I became a single mom, and acts of service went straight to the top. So I was like, well, that's interesting, because I thought we were born with our love language. I thought, how we treat people, like if yours is gift giving, you usually give gifts. And I think it might be more environmental, or where we are at in our healing pattern, that determines what our love language is. Has it always been physical touch and quality time, or has it ever changed?
I've always loved physical touch, just because I never really received a lot of it as a kid.
This is my thing. I also think our love language is derived from what we didn't have as a child.
Yeah, and I think it's the same with the time. My mom was basically a single mom. My dad was in the picture, but he traveled a lot, and I didn't really see him until I moved in with him at 15. So, and my mom worked all the time. My brother and I kind of raised ourselves. That's why we spent so much time at church, is because church was a way to like babysit us, and sports and stuff like that. So I think that's why those are mine. I love giving gifts, can't stand to receive them. If you give me something, I am almost physically appalled. Like it makes me like sick to my stomach. I'm like, oh God, I don't even want to open it. Like I don't want to take it from you.
What is that? Is that a childhood thing? Maybe.
I just think that for me, it feels like you think you underestimate me. Like I need you to get me something. Like I need this from you. And I'm like, I don't need or want anything. And I hate clutter. So I'm like really OCD.
Minimalist. Yeah.
So when you give me something, especially a trinket, I'm like, now I have to put this in a fucking drawer for like 6 months until I throw it away.
Well, also Kansas City, like I don't know about your family, but like
junk drawers.
Junk drawers, trinkets. I mean, I also had like a grandmother who had doilies hung up everywhere. Yeah. So every inch of a wall was covered. Gross. And now I'm a minimalist where I'm like, there's one photo and that's all we're doing.
I have no photos in my house. My best friend got me one of those frames that goes through the pictures, the automatic one.
Brilliant.
That's one I have. I tell everybody, I'm like, if you want to send a picture, send it to this. I have one photo frame and it just scans through people I know.
Yes. That's great. I love it.
I'm like, that's nothing.
Save space. It saves space. It's decluttered. Yes. Yeah. I also think like when people hang stuff like all over the place, my grandma would have like little miniatures like in corners of places. I'm like, you can't even see what that is, and it's collecting dust. It's or like gnomes, garden gnomes all over her yard, and I'm like, what white trash shit is this, lady?
I wonder what they think the gnomes are doing for them. Is it like protection gnomes?
She just, I just like them because they're cute, and I was like, okay. I think if you go to like, what is it, Switzerland or no, Iceland, right? Isn't it Iceland where they think that there actually are gnomes?
Oh, I have no idea.
Or something. Will you look that up? I
like
think it's
frozen
Iceland.
Children in time or something.
They're like, no, there's actually like, no, I don't want to say trolls because that might be insult. I think they're gnomes, and
they're just like midgets.
Yeah, and they're supposed to like come out and help you and bring you good luck or something. And I'm like, what? That's so weird. Yeah. Anyway, okay.
It's Iceland.
Iceland. Yes.
Is it? What do they think it is? What do they
also known as Vitir, are respected that roads are rerouted around areas said to be inhabited by them. Proves their existence in the old world.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I'm down. Let's go. Let's find some. Do they go by gnomes or trolls?
They go by gnomes.
Okay. I'm offending so many people in Iceland right now. They're like, we do not call them that. I'm such an asshole. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So let's get to it. Cause that normally, by the way, I did this completely differently. Backwards. Yeah. Normally I start with a question, but I was like, I have so many rapid fire questions first. So what is a life-changing event that changed everything for you?
I would say the suicide for me. Because that was a dramatic moment in so many ways, because I mentioned I was, a drug addict, and I was working in hospitals at this time also. And I was a raging alcoholic. I was a drug addict. I used to get high in the parking lot. In my 20s. I was 24 when
early.
I stopped it. Yeah. But I had just left the secure relationship I had been in for years. And so I'd really dived hard back into drugs, and was hanging out with the wrong crowd. And this night in particular, the guy that I was dating had gone to bed, and I was still up doing drugs with his roommate, but his roommate was coming on to me, and I wanted no part of that. And so I had gone back to my boyfriend. I was like, hey, your roommate's hitting on me. Will you please just have him stop?
Right.
And so he's like, don't bother me, blah, blah, blah. And he stayed in bed, and I went back out, and I'm smoking weed with his roommate. And I said something to his roommate, screamed at him, don't fucking touch me, or something along those lines. And before I knew it, my boyfriend had come from the back bedroom with a loaded gun. And he's like, just start swinging. And he's also fucked up. We've been getting fucked up for days at this point.
Right.
And he just starts swinging the gun, and he's like, get the fuck away from my girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. And then just fires randomly. And I'm standing in front of a glass door. It shatters the glass door that I'm standing in front of.
Oh my God.
So the bullet whizzed past my head. I'm out of my mind, and I'm on a lot of drugs, and I'm really fucked up. But I was so scared that I just grabbed my shit and I left, and I got in my car and I started driving.
What drugs were you on?
Oh my gosh. I was likely on Molly, cocaine, probably meth, probably some, I don't know, maybe some Adderall thrown in there.
Everything.
We would do everything.
Okay.
All the things. And so, also at that point you're Superman, so you can go and do anything. Mm-hmm. And so I drove 45 minutes to my ex's house, the ex that I had left, which was a secure
the long-term relationship. Okay.
Yeah. So I drove to his house in the middle of the night, and now I left him, and I had left him about 6 months prior to this. So him having a woman in his house was totally fine, but not to me.
Of course not. Of course not.
Yeah. So I pull up to his house, and I see a sunfire in the
a
driveway, and I was like, there's a girl in here. But I still had a key because this is the house we bought together.
Oh, girl. Oh, I want this story so bad. Okay.
So I walk in with my key, and it's the middle of the night, so they don't hear me. And I walk into the bedroom, and I just fling the door open, and I'm like, who the fuck are you in my fucking bed? And my ex, jumps out of bed, and he was like, what are you doing here? And he's trying to shuffle me out. He's like, get out of here, get out of here. And so he gets me outside, and he's like, you have to leave. He was like, you're fucked up. He was like, you don't live here anymore. Why are you in my house? It's 3 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
And this poor girl's inside.
She's like, that's your ex-girlfriend? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I get in my car because he's telling me to leave. And we bought this house together. It was on 10 acres, so we had a bunch of land. And I just start farming the front yard with my car.
Absolutely.
And I'm just tearing everything up,
Hell yeah.
just going to town. And we had a water spigot in the front yard, the kind you actually pump with a hand crank.
Old school.
Yes. So I plowed over that, and my car got stuck. So my car is just midair on this pump.
God.
Yeah. And so I'm just stuck, in the air. And he was like, are you proud of yourself now? Are you proud?
No.
And he's like, I'm calling your aunt, who was my mom. And so he calls my aunt. Of course, she rushes there and comes and gets me. And at this point, he's not even letting me go back in the house. I'm just sitting in my car, stuck on this water pump, and I'm just crying my eyes out. No. And I'm like, I can't believe you don't love me, blah, 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 saying all this crazy person stuff. And my aunt comes, picks me up. takes me back in her car because my car is stuck on this bump.
Of course.
And takes me back to my apartment where I lived alone. And this is her biggest regret is she says, do you want to come home with me or do you want me to come in and stay with you? And I said, no, I really just want to be alone. Sorry.
Yeah, go and breathe.
I just want to be alone. Please go.
Yeah.
And so I went inside with full knowledge of what I was about to do.
You already knew in that moment.
I was everything in my life kind of seemed like it was done, I was very addicted to drugs and I knew I was in a bad place. And, basically had just broken up with my boyfriend because he tried to fucking shoot me. And then I went to this boyfriend's house, which was my one safe place. And he's moved on. He's in bed with another woman. And now he hates me and I've plowed his lawn. And now I'm this crazy person. Right. And so I thought, I'm just going to do it, So I went home and I didn't have a lot. I took some ibuprofen, took the whole bottle. And then I'm like, well, that's not going to be fast, So I took a knife and I slit my wrist the wrong way. Oh. And I'm like, well, that's not working either. So I had some bleach in my closet and I just started chugging the bleach. Girl. And thankfully, it really fucking burns. And it hurts really bad. And I could physically feel the burning of my lungs and everything going down.
Oh my gosh.
And so freaking out, I called 911 on myself. And I told him what I had done and I just collapsed. And like I said, I didn't wake up until I was in a straitjacket in a padded room several hours later. But the long story short is they came, kicked in the door. I was dead on arrival. They pumped my stomach and, sent me to the mental ward where I was a prisoner of the state for several months before they would release me to go live back with my family.
What was that experience like of being in a psych ward?
It was, I always say it was kind of like attending my own funeral because you're strapped to a gurney in a straitjacket and I'm screaming for people and I'm in a room all by myself when I wake up because, they just leave you in this room to kind of like come to,
Right.
And so I'm all alone and it's exactly what you see in the hospital. It's a all white room and I'm just strapped to a gurney in a fucking straitjacket and I'm screaming and I'm like, hello, somebody like, hello. And a woman comes up and like, I'm a fucking prisoner, licks this little tiny window, like yay big. And she's like, oh, you're awake. And I was like, get me out of here. Like what is happening? Like what's going on? Like, I want to go home. I want to go home.
Of course.
And she was like, you are not going home. And she was like, came in here under police escort and what you have done is illegal in the state of Missouri and you are a prisoner of the state. And I was so baffled. And I was like, well, call my family, like tell them where I am. And so they call my family and everyone in my family, because I'm in and out, at this point. And
are you in and out because they put you on something or because of what you had been on?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm in and out. I don't know if it's something that they gave me or what. I don't know. To
calm down, yeah.
But there's tissues by there.
Oh, thanks. It's just a hard story to retell.
No. Of course.
And so I remember like waking back up and my whole family is there and I can hear them talking before I open my eyes. And it's like my mom is so mad that I called my aunt and not her because my aunt is the non-judgmental person in my family. And so I knew she would like be there no matter what. And so my mom was mad that I called her and my dad's like, what? You can't be mad. Like at least she called somebody and at least she's alive and we're all here. So I can hear them fighting, and I open my eyes and I'm like, stop, but it was like, it felt like I was at my own funeral. My dad and my mom and my brother and my aunts and everybody's just there. Ooh, knowing what I had just done, and it was just like one of those moments where everybody was mad and sad at the same time, you know, and why didn't they see it? And why didn't anybody know the signs? And everybody knew that I had a drug problem and that I was addicted, but because I was working in hospitals, everyone was like, she's fine.
She's functional.
Yeah, she's doing great. She's got a job and she's fine. And so nobody really saw exactly how like deep everything was really going. But it's funny because I do kind of credit like weed to like getting out of that scenario because weed wasn't my first drug. cocaine was my first drug, methamphetamines was my second, crack was my third, and weed was my fourth.
Holy, like that's what you took in order?
Like from like not like all on the same day, but
right,
like
but starting,
how it all started.
That wasn't
me.
in order of preference. That was just like how you tried it. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So for me, like weed was a way to like bring me back down to normal, and I could like escape a little bit without going into the hard drug scenario. So now my only drugs I ever do is weed and mushrooms.
Right.
And mushrooms I feel like help me with the social anxiety.
Yeah.
Weed I feel like just brings me to a place where I get to happily exist.
Right. Right.
With the rest of the world, because I think I'm really type A and I like to be in charge of everything. I like to be like the first in line, and that means on the freeway too. So like I'm like, I don't know how I get to the beginning of the line, but I want to get there, you know? So I'm just, weed kind of allows me just like to slow down, take a minute, breathe, like check out, because everything's not a rat race. You know?
And to detach a little bit. That's my thing with a lot of people. I think Chris Porter's was also weed, and his was a head trauma. And so the interesting thing with the people that choose weed is, how do you know when you're medicating, and how do you know when you're compensating? And that's a really thin line.
Yeah, I think I do know when I'm medicating and when I'm compensating, though, because I think I medicate with weed first thing in the morning for me. And that's just kind of, again, because I will be at the gym at 5:30 in the morning, and then I'm done with my whole day by like noon, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? You know, but if I smoke a little weed,
that discipline, give me some of that discipline. Jesus.
But if I smoke a little weed, I'm like, okay, girl, work out at 9, you know, like, like I have to legitimately tell myself, like, you don't have to be like everywhere right now. Like you can just chill and like get things done. And like, I write a very timely schedule all day, every day.
And so do I.
And
I put shower on there. Do you put
same.
shower?
I put shower at lunch, because I will forget to eat if I don't write down lunch.
I don't forget to eat, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Again, got lost in my story. I do that a lot.
But that's okay. But like you keep like, it's so regimented that you also need to add weed. Otherwise you're going to get too crazy about it.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you for roping that back around.
Yeah. What's the other medicine we talked about? Mushrooms.
And that's, for me, it's social. Mushrooms for me, like I don't want to sit around in my house doing mushrooms. But if I'm in a very big social setting, say like AVN for me, like the adult movie awards, that is usually hundreds of thousands of people. There's a week-long convention, and it's hundreds of strangers coming up who think that they know you, and like everybody wants to be like very friendly, and so it's very energy sucking, and it's just a lot of people. And so I find myself microdosing throughout the day at those, and I can be very pleasant and very happy with people, and I don't have the
I gotta try it, man.
Yeah,
I gotta try it.
It honestly, for me, taking small doses, it does just make you like giggly and like laughy.
It doesn't make you tired. Weed makes me tired.
No, and see, weed doesn't make me tired either.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a lot of people get that, and I do understand, and I feel bad for those people.
I know. I want to do it so bad. I just like it. I laugh for 15 minutes and I fall asleep.
See, I will smoke weed, go work out. Smoke weed, go hike a mountain. Like smoke weed, go run my errands. Like
that's cocaine for me. If I could do any drug consistently, it's cocaine, or like Adderall, which is like the legal cocaine. Is basically what it is.
I used to do so much cocaine. So much cocaine that like I thought like my nose was like never going to be the same again.
Crazy.
You know? Yeah.
There was. I will say this: we were downtown after I had my kid. The first thing I wanted to do was go see Nate Bargatze do stand up.
Love Nate Bargatze.
Which my mom's like, why? I can't believe you like this guy. And I go, what do you mean? She goes, no, he's hilarious.
Oh, okay.
But he's a clean comic, and you usually like dirty comics. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's right.
He's clean-ish.
He doesn't cuss.
Does he not?
No, he doesn't cuss, and he doesn't really
That's
tell.
a talent.
I mean, he's like, that's his thing. And so when my mom was watching him, she goes, he's really good. And I go, yeah. And she just had this look on her face, and she goes, but he's clean. And I was like, I know, Mom. I know. So we did that. But across the street was the Pornhub Awards.
Oh, nice.
And so when we were walking, you could tell who was going to what.
Oh, of course, yeah.
It was great. I was like, oh, that one's, how you doing? That one's okay. G-string, how you doing? Good luck tonight. And it was so much fun. And then my mom saw Eric Stone Street.
Oh my God.
She never met him. Okay.
Yeah.
And she
Is
just,
he nice?
He's so sweet.
Oh,
He's
good.
so sweet.
I wanted him to be nice.
But he was behind us with his, I think now fiance. and or wife, and she's gorgeous and beautiful. And my mom looks behind me, and my mom goes, "Oh, there he is," and starts waving. I'm like, "Who
Like
is
they
behind-"
know each other?
So I'm thinking it's one of my friends that she knows. I turn around, it's Eric Stone's. And I go, no. My mom's already beeline towards him. Beeline towards him, because his mom, I think, is from Paola. My mom lives in Baser, right?
okay,
Or maybe he's from Piper. It's one of the P's, Paola or Piper.
Yeah.
And so my mom goes, "Hi, it's Terry." And I'm like, "Mom."
Like they're
And she goes, "I'm from
other.
Baser." And once she said Baser, he like calmed down. But not that he was just like, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you." And she said Baser, and he's like, "Oh, nice to meet you," and shook her hand. But you imagine this crazy woman just like running towards you like, "Eric, good to see you again." And you're like, you've never met him.
I love your mom, though.
Oh, that's who.
What
She'll
a
do it to
character.
you. She sees you in Kansas. After she watches this, she'll be like, "Silvia."
I love it.
It'll be intense. It'll be insane.
Can't wait to meet you, Mom. Looking forward to it.
She'll love it. She will love it. You'll be invited to our 5-acre farm. It'll be
Good.
a blast. We'll have way too much fun. Okay, so let's see. Oh yeah, the other thing with drugs is that I found interesting is sometimes you're addicted to a certain drug, but you might be addicted to it because you have a different addiction. So this is what I mean. So Lindsay Lohan once said when she went into rehab, she goes, "I went into rehab for like cocaine and Adderall and stuff." She goes, "But what we discovered through rehab was I'm actually an alcoholic. I would just do Adderall so I
you could drink more.
So I could drink more."
Of course. Yeah.
And then that's how you heal that, is you have to find what stems
base.
from that. And I thought that was interesting.
Oh, I have so many. I have so many bad habits. I mean, I still smoke vape. I mean, I still smoke weed, and I don't read the back of products that I put on my skin. I still eat Doritos and Cheez-Its and all the things I'm not supposed to have. I have sex with strangers. I'm high risk, you know? I'm just a high risk lady. We're all gonna die.
We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. So what are you gonna do? You know, it's a Tuesday. It's a Tuesday. I don't know. That's amazing. Do you think? I mean, I don't want to dig too deep into this, but like and we can cut this if you want. But the thing that happened to you at 11.
Yeah.
How much of did your parents know that?
Not until I was an adult.
Was it before or after the suicide attempt?
That I told them?
That you told them, yeah.
Well, after. I didn't tell my family about the molestation until the big Me Too movement came out, and I felt very motivated to tell my story. But I had already come out to other people about it. I had actually come out to other victims. But what was interesting is I had come out to the victims when we were, in college, just right after high school. And I had kind of said what had happened to me. And one of my good friends who spent a lot of time at that same house, she said the same thing happened to me. That what you described was like to the
was
the
it
T.
a family friend? Was it a?
It was a family member of someone's. And the really fucked up thing though is, so I knew it had happened to other girls my age in that house. But what I didn't know is when I came out on, I did it on Facebook basically and just said, like, I didn't name him, but I basically named him if you knew my
Location and all that, yeah.
And, I basically said it was my friend's, brother. And I didn't like list how it happened, but I just basically said, I, among other people, were molested, and we all, we've discussed it. And his sister, who was my best friend, she messaged me and she said, "I know you're talking about my brother." And she said, "I have never said this to anyone. I have never told my husband. I've never told my parents." She said, "Thank God my dad is dead, but he did it to me too." And it was her brother. So he was so gone in the head. Like, it was one thing to do it to your sister's friends, but now that I know he actually did it to his sister as well, it tells me how much
old
more
was
fucked he was in the head. He was 3 years older than all of us.
I had an incident with that. Yeah. I think I ask most of this because I'm a mom of a daughter, right? And my thing is,
ask questions.
Oh, is that what it is?
No one ever asked me any questions. No one ever asked me why I was sad. I was suicidal my whole life. I used to run away as a kid all the time, and no one ever paid any fucking attention. No one ever asked me why I was sad. Nobody asked me like any of those questions.
Oh, I'm
I would have
invasive as fuck.
loved to have told somebody what was going on to me,
Yeah.
but I never felt like anyone was going to believe me.
Yeah.
Who was I, and it went on for years. And at some point, even as a victim, you feel like you're doing it and you feel like it's you're allowing it. And so you're a part of it. And so you feel
Right.
so much guilt and so much shame that you don't say anything.
Right.
It took me being an adult looking back and going, no, you were a child
Right.
and this happened to you. And in the way that it happened, it was like, this person knew they were preying on you. They knew exactly what they were doing. You were their victim. He made all of us a victim, you know, and none of us spoke about it because I think we all had the same kind of thoughts.
You do have that. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to talk about it. Now I don't, like, I say it with like a little bit of anger because he's still kind of in the family vibe, and people think he's decent. And I'm just like, no, I'll be the first one to tell you he's not. And I have no problem saying it to his face.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me that I'm so invasive as a mom.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know, like, she did something the other day where she like, we call them babus instead of boobies. That's just what she said when she was little. Yeah. And she was like pointing to everybody's babus and she goes, ooh, ooh. And I was like, where'd you learn that? Where'd you learn that? And then I realized she learned it from me because I was doing it because I was dressing up as Anna and I had a necklace. And so I was like, my hands were where kind of but I was like pointing to the necklace. But her, when she did it, she was pointing to her boobs. So she's like, ooh, ooh. And I was like, oh, she's okay. Cause I'm like, any little thing, I'm like, what happened? Who touched you? What's going on?
Yeah.
And her dad and I also, that is our biggest concern, is that, and then also being addicted to drugs.
Yeah.
Because we're past our first concern was, you know, when they're born, is there any mental issues or is there a delay or is there, you know, autism or something like that? We're past that. And so now it's, how do we keep her safe in an environment? And it's, so we've agreed we're going to be those parents that are like, no sleepovers for like, unless we know the families really well.
Yeah. Mine was at sleepovers. So yeah.
That's what I told him. I was like, guess I've had a few incidents, nothing like the other one, but those, I was like, it was with a kid my age and it was like playing doctor, but I didn't know any of that stuff. And once you get sexualized, dude, it's that's it.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. And it's fucked up because my abuser used to like say really awful things to me like during the day, and he'd be like, you're so ugly, you know, like no man would ever want you, and you know you're tarnished now, right? Like he would basically like put
he
those
came
things,
guns blazing.
Oh yeah. Like that, because he had done what he had done, like nobody was going to want to be with me because I was already ruined. He already ruined me. So I also grew up with like those like thoughts in my head.
Oh,
you know?
and that takes years.
So many years to unlearn. And now my mom says the exact same thing to me because she's found Jesus, and Jesus doesn't want me to have sex with people.
Dude,
so.
that's, come on, mom. And that's the thing, like, I think and no diss to your mom, but I think if Everly were to ever attempt self-harm or something like that, there would be not a fucking ounce of judgment I would have towards her for the rest. I mean, I already don't, right? Yeah. But I like love that kid so much that I'll get emotional, but I'm like, the stuff that you went through, and I cannot imagine. I'm so sorry. That's, oh God, you got me to cry on my own podcast. But that, A, that shouldn't have happened. And B, I'm sorry that is her response, because you deserve better.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Well, this is a great way to end the podcast. Okay, let's wrap it up.
Everyone's crying.
Everyone's crying. Let's think of, this is a weird segue, but what's the funniest lesson you've learned? What's the funniest lesson you learned through going through the trauma, the suicide, the weed, the shrooms? Like, and being where you're at today, what's the funniest lesson?
I don't know if it's funny, but it's definitely the lesson. It's just to stop giving a fuck what anyone else has to say or thinks about what you are doing in your life, because at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter. If you are happy and you are healthy, then that is all that you need to be, and you will never make everyone happy no matter what you do. Absolutely. I couldn't be a virgin. That was taken away from me. But I could be a virginal creature, you know, who never ever never decided to have sex with a man ever again. And there would still be people who hated me and shamed me for that.
Absolutely. So there's always going to be somebody.
And it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And again, they're the 600-pound dude in a basement that's
miserable.
Let's not take it from them. Yeah. Where can people follow you, find you?
So several places. On Instagram under the Silvia Saige. I also have a podcast called Sexy Funny Raw. You can find it on YouTube.
It's great.
OnlyFans, onlyfans.com, Silvia Saige, XXX.
So business savvy.
Yeah.
This is why I love it so much. And you guys have to, again, she told you where to find her on Instagram, but her it's so engaging. Oh, and I do have one question. We'll end it on this. My boyfriend, we argue over this.
Uh-oh.
So let's say that there's a fluid left behind after sex, okay? And that fluid, would it be easier to clean it off with a warm washcloth or a cold washcloth?
Is it on furniture or on people?
On people.
Warm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Matt. He said cold, and I was like, why are you getting a cold one?
Because I think they're hot and sweaty, and they're like want the coldness maybe. But
Selfish.
we're not working as hard as you, so I want warm.
I cannot believe he literally was like, he goes, don't forget, he texted it to me. And then I was
But
like,
it's nice he gets you a towel.
you brought it up, and I literally just wrote the word cum on that. I was like, don't forget the cum. Don't forget to write the cum question. It's great. I was like, if anybody's going to know, it's going to be Silvia Saige, and she's going to say warm.
Warm towel. Yeah, I agree.
Cold. He's like, no, it breaks down the proteins. I was like, you don't know how science works. Get out of here.
I mean, at that point, what are you really breaking down? The cum's already like,
It's done.
Once it hits the oxygen, your baby's
dead.
Out. Yeah.
Done. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I'd love to have you on again because this is way. I mean, we
Sorry
cried.
to make you cry.
I know.
Sorry about the tears.
That's good. I've been due. It's been time for me to cry.
Good.
Hi guys, if you like this episode as much as I did, don't forget to follow me on all my socials at Nicole Birch Comedy, and you can also follow me on at Nicole E. Birch for the YouTube version of this, and find me wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks again.